All right, we've got a new tournament announced, the Silver State Tournament, and it is going to start on Monday, and it's going to be at the Milano hole. So we've got Tour 4 and Tour 7 is where you can, or excuse me, Tour 4 and Tour 9 is where you can practice these. And let's go to Golf Clash Notebook and check out the Milano holes. Now, one of the cool things, the last two tournaments, is they picked a tour and actually following that tour holes 1 through 9. So we're at the Milano. On hole number 1 of the Milano, you have a couple ways that you can play. So tee box, coming out into this area right here. You don't have to get all the way down here, but you want to get where you can clear these trees and have a shot coming in at it. So it's all about kind of laying up in this area right here. And this is a very difficult shot. There is an adjustment that we're going to need to make, and if you're taking the shot, you'll have to work on it as the week goes on. I prefer the shot where we're coming here from the tee box. So we've got our tee box right here. Depending on what kind of wind we get, we want to do a bounce here and then try and get up on the green in 1. Now, this shot, it's very easy to overshoot this and end up in this area. So depending on what kind of wind we get, hopefully we'll get a little bit of a side wind. They may give us a little bit of a tailwind, and if they give us a tailwind, we can use a lower level ball on this. If we have any kind of forward moving wind, we'll have to use a bigger ball, but it would be nice to come on this and not have to necessarily bring out a monster ball. Normally I like to point right towards this little spigot going into the sand trap and try and get a bounce here and a bounce right there, and that'll feed you right towards the green. Now you can get, this is one of the hole-in-one par 4s. It's possible to get a hole-in-one. I've gotten 2 hole-in-ones on par 4s, and this is one of the holes taking this shot. And you've got some options here. You can bring a big topper. A big topper, you will have to bring out a bigger ball because you'll need to get into this pad, but with the topspin that's on there, you can get it done. You can get it done with an extra mile. There's a shot here. If you're in this area with a really big ball, in this area right here, you can actually drive out to the front of this pad. If we take an arc from the tee box, so we can get the tee box in the picture. So if we're going from here out into this area, you can actually overdrive it. So if we've got a tailwind, there's a shot here that I really want to explore. If we take our arc and we go across like this, like where our distances are, there is a shot right here that you might be able to get to bring on. But I think just playing this one, this is a risk versus reward. If you come out here, it's a pretty easy shot to get out into this area, and you're going to have a very consistent shot coming in. But if you really want to increase the odds that you can pick up at least the eagle, the best way is to try and get up in here. If you end up in the sand or the rough up in this area, it's a very short shot. Typically, if you've got here's your cup and here's your flagpole, from the flagpole to the edge of the cup, I think of that as about 4 miles per hour when you're really close. And most of these shots down here, if you end up in the sand or the rough, are going to be that type of adjustment. So it's not going to be some massive adjustment that you have to make. The risk here is that when you come over, you overshoot it and you end up in the water. So it's definitely a shot that you want to take a few times and practice it, but there is a serious shot of getting on in 1 and getting a pretty easy eagle on that hole. There's no guarantee when you're dealing with all this sand, but there's no guarantee when you're out here, and this is a very tough shot from out here to get it in. Hole number 2. All right, there's the wind adjustment on this hole is super tough, because in order to do the wind adjustment, you have to get the perspective of out here, and you've got to get far enough away so that you can make the adjustment and get at the cup. It's very difficult to make. Now, I've seen people try and do a bounce here and a bounce here and a bounce here, and I'm not trying to skip a stone on water. So you will never see me demo doing the bounce from here, bounce to here, bounce to here. I'm also not a fan of hitting on this fairway area, trying to then bring it down in there, because what most people are doing when they hit in this area is they're trying to hit here, and then they're trying to do a rough bump on the second bounce. and it can be very inconsistent. What I normally do is bring a backspin club, and it'll take, if you've got a Guardian, you can get this done. If you don't have a Guardian, I'll have to shoot with my low level account and see what I can get done in this. But if you've got a Guardian, you can do a rough bump where you start right here and you can go right at the hole, and it'll take some backspin, but you have to get way out here to make your adjustment. You have to look at it from that angle so that you can adjust the backspin to get it lined up to the hole where you can still see your ball guide. And it's one of those types of holes that from where we're starting off to where we're ending up there's such a height difference that you can't get right down on your grid, on your ball guide, you know, the rings. You can't get right down on them and see the blades of grass. You're going to be a little bit farther away from them. So it is a little bit of a difficult shot to set up when you're doing the backspin starting off as a rough bump. But I've had a lot of success at the rough bump, and this is definitely a hole that you can get a hole-in-one on. It's still a tough hole, but there is a pretty legitimate shot if you do that rough bump down there. And like I said, I'll have to work on this hole with my low level account to find out what's another option, because I may not be able to do that because I don't have a Guardian. Hole number 3, and when the Milano first came out, that hole wasn't in the original Milano set. Okay, on this hole, this yellow shot going all the way to the green, you know, I'm not sure if they're talking about bouncing here and then coming at it like this. This one up here in one-on-one is the shot that if you've played Tour 4, this is pretty much the regular shot. If you get way up in here, you're still not in your short iron range. You're still in your long iron range. I think I almost got down to the rough down here one time, and I may have been in my short iron range, but I can't remember. And I don't normally try and get way down in there. In one-on-one play, I get right about where that black dot is. Remember that these trees, which weren't there when this hole originally came out, are in play. And so if you get caught behind the trees, you'll have to move it around them, and it could be a little difficult. So you either want to be short of the trees or you want to be long of the trees. If the wind is going in any type of forward direction, any type, as long as you draw that line here and the wind's going in some way that way, even if it's crosswind, ideally we want to have a little bit of tailwind so that we can use the wind. My normal MO is to try and land out in here, and even if I throw it through the rough, I want to end up right here on the fairway, because this is a nice long iron shot from right here, and it's a lot easier to get to this spot than it is to get up to here. It's a very difficult shot to get an Albion from back here. It can be done, but if you're up here with your long iron, especially if you bring a backbone, you can get Albi here, but getting up into this area right here is ideal. So instead of following the yellow line that they have where you're landing here and then trying to get on the green, my goal is to get here with my long iron. This is still going to be a wood shot from here. And the deal is that you have much better options. If you're going to take a wood shot, you have much better options from over here on the black line than you do on the yellow line. Because from over here, let's say you short shoot it a little bit, you can start up here, and if you bring a club like a sniper that's got a lot of curl, you can start it here and then curl it and bring it back towards the cup. Whereas if you're out in this area, your entry into the green, you've got this sand, so you've got a very short distance. I mean, here's the pin and here's the sand. You got a very little distance, whereas from over here, you've got all of this to try and bring it towards the cup. This shot out here opens up this little window, and you got a nice little run in towards the cup. So I will definitely be working on the shot to get out into this area and then coming at it with my backbone. Hole number 4, and this is one of the original holes in that hole right there. Hole number 3 is one of the original holes in the Milano. This is also one of the original holes in the Milano. And for rookie, the best way to go at it is right from the center of this cup, right at it. And it takes just I'll have to look at my notes, but I think it takes maybe about 3 backspin and maybe like a half a bar or just a sliver of a bar of right hand side spin. But it's not going to take much. And I'll go back and look at my notes, so by the time we get to the practice round, I'll have some basic notes for this. but we're going to bounce off of this island and go straight at it. Now, normally when I'm hitting off of islands like this, I don't like to mess around. If you watch my videos on a regular basis, I'm always big about leaving a couple rings of distance between any transitional surface. And when you're hitting off of this, this is definitely a great backbone because your rings are so small. So you can give yourself a couple rings of maneuver. And I like to start dead center, as close to dead center as I can. Now I may have to come back a little bit, or I may have to come forward a little bit, but I like to start as close to the center of that as I possibly can, so if you do make a slightly wrong adjustment, you're still on the fairway here. What you don't want is to overdraw it and end up in the sand. So I usually like to start as close to the center as I can, and this is definitely a hole that you're going to want to bring, if you've got them in your arsenal, that you can bring a low wind ball. I do believe we can play this with a Marlin, like the Marlin's a great ball for it, so that means in the weekend round you could bring out a Santa or an Ocean or one of those balls that's zero power. Most of those zero power balls are like 4 or 5 wind, and most of them are like 3 side spin, and we're not really going to need the side spin here. But so we're kind of wasting the side spin on that ball, but that low wind can help you, because this is an absolutely serious hole-in-one shot. You can dial this in and get several hole-in-ones in the tournament on this hole right here, and it is, like I said, one of the original Milano holes, and they haven't really made a lot of changes to it. All right, I love this hole. I can't lay off on this hole. There's 3 ways in my mind. There's 3 legitimate ways to play this, and one of them you can play with a Marlin, and the other 2 you want to bring out the biggest ball, either a Titan or a Kingmaker. And if you're taking this shot from over here, a Titan will work. If you're taking this shot from over here, a Marlin will work, because you're laying up, and this is a super tough shot to get in here. I see people do this all the time one-on-one. They lay up over here. So when I see them lay up, I bring out a Titan. They're using a Marlin, they laid up, I bring out a Titan, and what I do is a max overpower hook shot. So at rest, not pulling it out and trying to get all the way past the red line and stretching it all out, but at rest, I want my ball guide, I want my white ring to be right up against the transition between the sand and the rough. And I know I'm in the right spot because my ball guide is right by this tree, and I can move my ball guide to the left and it'll hit the tree. When it hits the tree, I move it back to the right until it's just barely not hitting the tree, and that'll put your white ring, if you've got an extra mile, right up against that transition. I'm doing max left-hand side spin. And then depending on the level of your extra mile, it could be as low as no top spin, and it could be as high as maybe 1.5 top spin. And your goal is to land right here and dribble onto the green, and either be on the green itself or be out here in the clear on the fairway and take a nice little chip in shot. You'll have to dial that top spin in, because you can literally put 2 top spin and end up over here, and you can put no top spin and end up over here. So it's really tight. I normally, when I take this shot, I take the wind out. I set my ball up in this spot that I just talked about, and then I take the wind out, and then I take the shot max overpower hook. I think the highest percentage way to go at this hole, so that you're on and one and you get an eagle, is to use this pad right here. And it'll take at least a 3 to a 4 power ball. And ideally you want to hit it so you don't have a lot of overpower. And you want to come at it here, and you want to either clip the rough and roll out into the fairway so you have this chip, or if you can land it over here on this, it may be hard at that point to control like what its distance is, but your goal is to get right here. And this shot is a lot more consistent and probably a lot easier. While I know that this is the shot to take, for whatever reason in my brain, I love doing the max overpower hook shot here. When this hole first came out, this was not one of the original Milano holes. When it first came out, the very first time I ever shot this hole, I did this max overpower hook and fell in love with it, and so I do it all the time. And I'll have to go back and look at my notes to see exactly what the top spin is to get up there. But this shot right here is going to be a lot more consistent. And while I've never really I've taken this shot quite a few times in one-on-one, If somebody does bring out a big ball and they take this shot, I'll take it just because I'll match up with them. But I've taken this shot, but I think this week in the tournament I'm gonna try this shot quite a few times because I know this shot. So I'm gonna take this shot at least in the practice rounds and just check it out to see how I like it. And if I don't, then I'm gonna switch back to the max overpower hook shot. But either this shot's going to be more consistent, but if you like doing max overpower hooks, this is the way to go. This is a layup, and you're laying yourself up into a spot that is super, super tough to chip in. So I'm not interested on a par 4 of laying up so that I have a super hard chip in. I'm interested in trying to do whatever it takes to get on in one. Because this is going to be a wild tournament as far as like what kind of scores we can see. Another hole that I really like. I like to come at this hole with either a QB or a rock. And you can play this hole with a katana or a kingmaker. Those are your choices. There's two real ways to play. Sometimes some people will show you this shot right here, but it's very difficult to get out on here and stick on here, and you're not ending up with, you don't have you have one option to get on. You've got to do a rough bump here on this hillside to get on the green, because the cup, like here's the edge of that green and there's the cup. So, and here's a hill. So there's a hill right here, and a steep hill, and it's steeper on this side than it is on this side. So I'm not really a fan of that center shot, and I'm not really a fan of taking the shot over here. Now, if you're playing from the second tees or the third tees, this is probably the shot that you'll have to take, because if you look at the angle from the second tee to try and get over here, it's very difficult, whereas the first tee you've got a better shot of landing right in this area and then being able to bring the ball up. And from the third tee, it's too difficult to get to here and then try and bring it around. It takes too much curl. But from the third tee, you got a straight shot to here, and from the second tee, you got a straight shot to here. So you're going to see people in pro and expert. If you've got multiple accounts, you got rookie accounts and pro and expert accounts, this is probably the side you're going to be looking at in pro and expert, and this is the side, I think, in rookie that's the way to go. Now, normally what I'll do is I'll take my QB or my rock, and the QB works really good here because it's got good topspin, and I will put it up so that I will run up to my red line, and I'll put 3 rings out from this transitional surface where the rough is. Maximum curl, maximum right hand side spin, no overpower, and you'll end up right out in this area. And what I like about this side that I don't like about this side or this side is this side you're interfacing with the hill, and here you're interfacing with the hill, and it's at the steepest part of the hill, and that is your only option for getting on. When you're over here, you have 2 options. So if you're in this area over here and you short shoot it, you can bounce off of this, clip the rough, and roll onto the green. Or you can start off on the green and do a rough bump. And there is a big adjustment that we have to make if we're down here doing that rough bump. And I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but I will look at my notes and take a look at it. We're just doing some scouting today, just so you know what's out there, or at least what shots. Like if you're practicing, if you're in rookie, I would definitely recommend you practice coming out in here. QB or a rock, kingmaker or a katana. You want that 3 side spin ball to help get you around the bend. And then for the second shot coming in, I'm going to use one of my more accurate clubs. I'm going to bring my accurate bag. This is going to be the QB, Sniper, Backbone Saturn, whichever one's your one. But I think the second shot here is a wood shot, so you're coming in with a sniper. If you don't have a sniper, a Viper will work, but you've got more options over here. You can do the bounce, you can hit the rough, you can get on, and it is super, super dangerous on this green. You overshoot that pin and you will end up way over here, and you do not want to have to take that putt. It is better to be short on the fringe or up on this fairway and just barely get there and take that chip than it is to press the issue and end up long on this hole. There's going to be a lot of people who are not going to get eagles on this hole. And most people that you see are going to go over here, but this shot from over here, if you're in rookie, gives you 2 options to get on the green. That's definitely, in my opinion, the way to go. Options are always good. All right, here's another very tricky Now, you can play from here. You can play from here and you can do the rough bump. There is a bunch of different ways that you can play here and you can be successful at all of them. I typically like to come here with a... Okay, I either bring a backbone or a Saturn. And I hit from right here. And I want to be, if I'm with my Saturn, I want to be 2 rings off of this transitional surface. If I'm using my backbone, I'm usually 3 rings off of that transitional surface. And when you put your ball guide, your second bounce is going to be over here. And what I do is I'll put side spin, and you want to bring a ball that's got side spin on it. So either a Quasar. What in the heck is going on? A Quasar, Katana, or a Kingmaker. So you're in that side spin range of balls. And you're going to put enough side spin, enough backspin so that you're seeing your second bounce speed right on the fringe going towards the cup. It doesn't take, it looks like it's going to take a bunch of curl in order, it's going to take some curl to bring it to the hole, but when it hits on that hill face, it takes a little bit of an irregular bounce to the right. And you'll find that it doesn't take as much curl as what it looks like it's going to take. But this hole right here, backbone, and some type of a side spin ball. And I think it's a red line deal, so I'm not sure if I'm not sure if it was a Quasar or a Katana, but it's one of those 2 balls. It might have been, I'll have to look at my notes and see what the deal is, but this is definitely a hole when you're practicing it. You can shoot from over here, like I said, you can shoot from here and take. I don't like this shot at all. I don't like hitting over sand, to be honest with you. But I'm definitely not interested in going from the farthest point away and then trying to do a rough bump on that little teeny rough where you're bouncing and then doing a rough bump to try and get up to the cup. I've seen people be very successful at this. It can be done, but you have to make perfect adjustments. And I found that on this hole I make about a 10% wind adjustment when I'm playing it. And if I've got headwind in one-on-one play, I usually make about a 20% wind adjustment, because it'll want to throw you down into this area. And it really is going to depend in this tournament on which way the wind's blowing. Hole number 8. All right, this is another par 4 right here that has a serious albatross shot. Now, in my opinion, there's only one way to play this. You're going to bounce from here. You can use an extra mile on a Katana. And you're trying to lay the ball up in here, and then you're coming at it with a short iron, and you want the most accurate, baddest short iron that you have in your bag. And you can play this with a Kingmaker, and the reason you can play it with a Kingmaker instead of a Katana is that when you get to this shot right here, it'll put you deeper into your short iron, and you got a much better shot if you're in mid short iron or minimum short iron. And if you bring a Kingmaker and you can get up there, you'll be in minimum short iron, which is twice as accurate as max short iron. Another way you can play this hole is you can try and lay it up out here and then come in. I'm not interested in laying up so that I can have a long iron shot to get to the green when I can get over here and take a short iron shot. I have a much higher success rate with short iron than I do with long iron, and I don't care which long iron it is. Now, some of you may look at this hole and go, you know what? There might be a max overpower hook shot here where we can come from this area right here, starting off in this. That's like where we'd like to land, and we're doing this max overpower hook shot, trying to get it to come over here where we can bleed out in front, and we've got a nice little run in at it. They put a tree, I'm not sure if it's showing on here, but there is a tree out here that is right in your way. And every time I've tried this shot to see what I could do, I tag that tree. So, and it might be these trees, or there might be a standalone tree that's out here that's not showing on the map. But I haven't had any luck doing that max overpower hook just because I keep hitting that tree that they put out there. When this hole first came out, that tree wasn't there, or that light pole wasn't there. And very soon after it came out, all of a sudden a new tree popped up out of the ground. They went and planted a brand new tree, and now all of a sudden that shot's not there. This is not one of the original Milano holes, but it is an awesome opportunity for eagle. Hole number 9. All right, this hole right here, oh my gosh, this is an absolutely brutal hole to get an eagle on. They completely reconfigured this hole when they came out with the new Milano holes. It used to play totally different than this, and it was at that time an extremely hard hole to get an eagle on, but in my opinion it was easier because they changed how it works out here, and you used to be able to like try and dribble up in here in one. Well, what you do is you'd end up in the rough and then you could end up here. It was still a birdie hole. Now you can come out here with an extra mile and a Titan and end up out in this range. You can come out here with a big topper and you can get a little bit farther. You can also bring a bigger ball, and I think it's probably going to take, I think it takes a 5-power ball. You can actually start off, if the wind is blowing, if we're getting a tailwind, I think you can start off over here and you can end up way up here, where you can go from here trying to bounce off of this to try and get on in one, or excuse me, to try and get on in two. So you can put yourself up there. What you'll find a lot is that you're not on in two, you're either on this pad and then you're doing the chip over. And I think that's actually what we're trying to do here, is we're trying to get the Berserker to get up here so that we can end up on this pad. And then from there we can try and get the eagle by bouncing over. You can, it's possible to get on in two, but it's super, super tough. Typically you're going to find yourself out in this area if you've got a 3-power ball, and you're going to be laying up somewhere out in this area. This is a great second shot for a big dog, because you could eke yourself out into here. If you put yourself in the right spot out here, you could try and get your second bounce with your big dog to be here and try and do the hoppity hop to get over. So we have a lot of options out in this range, but if you really want to increase your odds of getting up there and getting an eagle on this, you're going to need to bring out a 5-power ball, and that's for everybody. If you're in the higher divisions and you're playing from the back tees, this hole is going to be, this is kind of like a normal par 4. Like normally we think of par 5s as eagle holes. This par 5 has never been an eagle hole. It is a birdie hole all day, and if you get lucky, it's an eagle hole. There really is zero chance for an Albie here. We used to play where we didn't involve this side of the course. This side of the course was completely gone, and we always landed out in here. We don't do that anymore. There isn't any benefit of hitting from over here wherever you land to try and get up there, and you can't get, on your first shot, you can't get into this area. So if you get stuck in the rough or something and you're in trouble, you get caught up in the sand down here, and you can make this bounce to this bounce and get over here, that might not be a bad way to recover, because then at least if you're up here, especially if you're up in front of that line, somewhere up in the top part here, you may be able to bounce off of this and get on. So you ended up in the sand, that's one shot, you're over here in 2, you're on in 3, taking a birdie putt, and you could recover. But if you're trying to go for the eagle, you want to be as far out here as you can possibly be so that you can try and get on this pad and try and get up there. And it's still a very, very tough hole to eagle. It's possible, but it is super tough. So let's do our count here and see kind of what our minimum score should be. This is while there's a great chance for eagle here, you have a chance at hole-in-one here. This is still a birdie hole. So we got -1, -2 with a serious shot at hole-in-one, -3, -4 with a serious shot at Albie, -5 with an absolutely serious shot at hole-in-one, -6 with another serious shot at eagle, -7, -8. You got a decent shot at Albie here, but it's a difficult hole to Albie, but it's not that hard of a hole to eagle. 8, 9, another great hole-in-one opportunity. 10 with an awesome opportunity for eagle. 11, 12. So we're looking at our minimum score as being -12, but I can tell you that in this tournament there's going to be some people that get an eagle here. This hole can be hole-in-one. This par 5 right here, we do have an Albie shot, but it is an eagle hole. This hole right here is going to be a game breaker, because there's going to be the people at the top. This is going to be the hole right here where they got that hole-in-one. So you really want to work on this hole as the week goes on, because you want to dial this hole in, because it has a serious hole-in-one shot. I mean, that's one right there. This one right here, if you can use this, or you can dial in the top spin on this max overpower hook shot, you can easily get on in one and make a putt or a short chip. And this hole is very eagleable, so there's two that you've got to think that a lot of people are going to pick up. This hole right here, tough hole. You can get an Albie on it, but it's a tough hole. This hole right here is hole-in-oneable. This will be another one of those wild card holes. It's a tough hole-in-one, but it can be done, and it's not out of the realm of possibilities. This is another hole right here that is a serious eagle shot. I mean, there's 3 solid shots that you're looking at in the last hole. So, you know, we're looking at -12, and, you know, as the absolute minimum. So go into it thinking -12, -24, -24, and put yourself in position on all those holes, and you're gonna have a lot of success, because if you're in the right spot and you're on track for the -12, -24, -24, and you put yourself in the right spot, you have a bunch of serious opportunities in this tournament to pick up shots. So seeing somebody pop out a -16 or a -17 and ending up at the end in the weekend round, this is the type of course that you're going to see people in the weekend round popping off some monster scores. You know, 29, 30, 31, 32. But that minimum score of -12, -24, -24 is still going to net you, in most brackets, a top 15. Definitely a top 20. If you're in an upper level, you know, if you're in a Masters Ricky bracket or an Expert Ricky bracket, you know, that may be a little bit higher. But the people that are up at the top, there are a ton, even more than the last tournament that we were in with the Parc de Paris holes. This tournament, these holes right here are absolutely, you've got serious opportunities to pick something up. All right, that was a preview of the new Silver State. Is that what it is? Silver State? And it's at the Milano holes. Open app again. We're in the dark. That's the deal. So hopefully everybody has a great tournament, and try and use Monday as a practice round, so you can go out there and Tour 4 and Tour 9, or we're going to be able to pick these holes up. Let's go make sure it is the Silver State tournament. Help. Go to help. Go to tournaments. Silver State tournament. All right. I will start posting holes as I get them. I do have, if you check through my playlist, you can go sort it by alphabetical and go through my playlist, and there are some of the Milano holes down there. I'll go through my tournaments and find a hole, try and put together a full playlist of it, but I do have some holes in there. Some of them are older videos that I did before I was really kind of shooting videos every tournament. So but just so you can see the demo on it and kind of see what you're looking at. But I will continue to post as I play holes throughout the week. Thanks for watching.